He replayed the scene in his head over and over. Unlike Kendall, he didn't want to hurt her. There was no malice involved. He was just jealous. Jealous of something he could never be nor could he have. Jungkook didn't even try to show his interest. He just pressed his head against the car window. He had gotten really good at tuning people out, mostly Daniel. He flinched as a hand gripped his knee, rather than caress it. "Let me walk you inside, it's freezing." Jungkook didn't even notice how dark it had gotten. They weren't at the restaurant for very long either according to Jungkook's wishes. To be fair, Jungkook did live across town plus the weekend traffic. Man, how he can get lost in his head so quickly. With Daniel's unwanted assistance, Jungkook scurried out of the car and into the lobby. He turned to Daniel to wish his goodbyes, only to see him leaning against the wall, covering the elevator buttons. "So, penthouse," Daniel marveled. Not to be rude, but he wanted Daniel to leave him the this afternoon left a bitter taste in his mouth that he couldn't wash away. "Nice. I always knew you would be something great. I hope you know how proud I am of you." Ding. The elevator doors slid open and to Jungkook's luck, nobody was inside. Golden Hour washed his apartment in splashes of ocean apricot which he would be marveling at if he wasn't pinned against the wall. His dirty hands slid over Jungkook's body like Jungkook didn't know how they had gotten there. It all escalated so fast. He bit his tongue and enjoyed it. This is what he needs. He craved that praise of his beauty even though he would never believe it. "You have no idea how long I've been waiting for this," Daniel grunted as, "God, I need you so bad." In the blink of an eye, Daniel was back up on his feet, lifting Jungkook up to carry him to bed. He just let it happen. He felt useless, like it was all out of control. He was tossed roughly onto the bed. He felt like a teenager again. It was all just rushed and careless. Only caring for a release, not for romance. But still, he let Daniel take off his sweater with ease. But he never moaned or cried out his name. He just couldn't feel it anymore. But he had something to prove. He needed to prove to Yoongi, Taehyung, and all of those magazines who care so deeply about his love life that he was moving on. He yearned for a connection, a bond. But this was not it. This is not a step forward, it's a step backward. He shuddered as Daniel hooked his teeth onto his collarbones. Daniel, his breath caught in his throat as Daniel stopped frantically trying to unbutton his pants. "What do you need, baby?" Jungkook let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. What is he even doing? Why did he ever think that this was a good idea? Where did all of his self-respect go? "I think you should go." Jungkook turned his head towards his floor-to-ceiling windows to gaze out at the last bit of daylight. Daniel chuckled as though he didn't believe him. "What, please leave." His hands gripped the tousled covers that surrounded him. But, he sounded completely baffled. "You're kidding, right? You got me hard and now you're just gonna kick me out? Oh hell. I barely even touched you." Jungkook curled in on himself defensively. "You know, I really thought we had something." Daniel adjusted his trousers once more and put the rest of his clothes back on. "You better not right at this," he yelled from the entryway. "You'll be lucky if I mention your name." He slammed the door on his way out. Jungkook sighed, the uneasiness lingering a little too long. It hurt to watch the sun go away, knowing that he would be alone tonight. You never feel alone until your bed is cold and your only company is the moon. Retracing his steps to collect his things, he winded up back in the entryway once the sun was long gone. His shoes, socks, and other miscellaneous accessories scattered the floor. He reluctantly returned them to their designated spot before grabbing his tote bag in search of his phone. He hates these stupid things because you throw all your shit in them and can never find anything. It all just goes missing in the void. He dumped the bag out on his kitchen table, only adding to the mess. He spotted his new phone face down with the shiny clear case facing upwards. He tucked it in his pocket and then returned to throwing everything else back in the bag for later. He was getting to the last of his things when he noticed something unusual. A small slip of paper folded in half. Jungkook knew it wasn't his since he used his notes app for everything. He doesn't write on the go either. He let his curiosity get the best of him and hesitantly reached for it. The paper was jagged in his hands but still had the grainy, high-priced feel to it. The paper was covered in words that had been typed out, printed. He unfolded the slip to find the same print on the other side except with bright-colored writing over it. Immediately realizing who it was from. But how did it end up in his bag? He folded the paper once more, not wanting to look at the handwriting that mocked him. He was always so mysterious. Everything had to be done in a clever way, something that Jungkook would never expect. He gazed down at the slip once more, recognizing the printed words that spread across it. The words, the font. This was his book, his writing. Taehyung ripped a page from his book to write this stupid little message on. Jungkook glanced back over his shoulder, almost expecting someone to be there, as though this were one of Taehyung's many treasure hunts that would lead to a prize. Prizes Jungkook could only dream of: beach houses, boats, a private jet for God's sake. Things he wanted but never needed. Cryptic, he was. Cryptic. It's all a game. It's crazy how only a simple question can get one person so riled up. That's the horror of writing. Jungkook tossed and turned all night, unable to find a comfortable position to sleep in. You might think that since Jungkook is so lazy that he would love to sleep, but no. Once the sun went down, he automatically went into survival mode. He constantly dueled with his mind about whether he should just call him. But tonight it was even worse. He wanted to rip every strand of hair out of his scalp. He wanted to claw his eyes out so he couldn't see the memories passing by. He wished to cut off his ears so he couldn't hear the voices that mocked him. He was on the brink of a midlife crisis, even though he's already had one. And the fact that it's December only makes it worse. He's never really had to explain why December is a hard time for him. Everyone knows. This month feels entirely cursed for multiple reasons, but one stands out like a sore thumb. Morning Jungkook would wake up wishing he didn't. At around dawn, Jungkook would get up to get ready for work at a job that he hated. He would leave the bed that he shared with someone he'd grown to despise. He didn't even bother kissing Taehyung goodbye. He was dead asleep anyway, slept like a rock until he peacefully awoke at 9 to go to a job that he does nothing at. Maybe it was jealousy, maybe it was the post-marriage blues. Either way, Jungkook would come and go like a hurricane. It was a chilly Friday in December. Journaling had become a part of Jungkook's daily routine, so he made sure to tuck a pocket notebook into his work bag. He's been in a slump these past few months, but now he's decided to get his shit together for the holidays. Jungkook and Taehyung had decided to spend Christmas together this year. Well, not decided, they just hadn't spoken about any other plans, so Jungkook is just making assumptions. Either way, it would be nice for them to just be together. They've been married for about 3 years now, even though it feels like 30. It's not like they're sick of each other, they just don't talk. Jungkook can feel the tension bubbling up to the surface as the days go on. At dinner, they exchanged small talk as they meekly eat their meals. They were both walking on eggshells at this point, or at least Jungkook was. He diligently scribbled away all of his daily thoughts and feelings at his desk. The office has been busy due to the holidays, but Jungkook was able to sneak a few minutes of peace as patrons waited for meetings or were busily negotiating on the phone. He hasn't quite mastered his journaling yet. He's still testing the waters. He's a bit worried to share too much, as if somebody would read it someday. Or maybe he'd share it with their kids. Their kids. Jungkook has wanted kids since he was a toddler, but Taehyung has always been strongly opposed. He used to ask Santa for a baby for Christmas. Of course, that never happened. He was heartbroken when Taehyung expressed his disgust for children. It just wouldn't work for our lifestyles. Jungkook. Taehyung stormed off like usual, but Jungkook wasn't ready to give up. This is all he could ever want. But why not? I would happily quit my job just for this. Jungkook pressed and pressed. You know how I feel about this, but I don't know why you don't want a baby. Do you just not love me enough? Of course, of you. Jungkook. Taehyung had begun to shout, which still after all these years, frightened him. And the fact that you doubt it is what hurts the most. Don't try and change the subject. This is about our future. Is this not enough? Taehyung threw his arms out. I buy you everything you could ever want. You don't know what I want. Jungkook kept his head down. He wasn't strong enough to look Taehyung in the eyes. It was almost insulting to stare into the eyes of the man who brought this pain upon him. Yes, I do know. You don't. We never talk anymore. You always say you're too tired to talk. Jungkook would never admit when he was losing a fight, but Taehyung had a higher ground. He carried his sorrow like a newborn in his arms, a phantom weight. He collapsed into a passionate heap on the sofa. I want a baby with you. His throat constricted as he tried to hold back tears. Something we could call our own. He heard Taehyung sigh, a telltale sign of him giving in. Jungkook. Taehyung plopped down in the spot next to him, to which Jungkook immediately sought shelter. He sobbed into Taehyung's chest. Please, Taehyung, he begged and wept. Hell, he'd even carry the baby himself. He was that desperate. But of course, that wasn't possible. I just want a baby. His teary eyes gazed into Taehyung's emerald ones. He didn't look convinced. He acted like it was a ruse. You can take the beach house, take the cars. I don't want any of it. He slammed his fist against Taehyung's chest, demanding some kind of physical release for his pent-up frustration. Jungkook didn't care for the luxury. He loathed it. It was only a temporary fix, not anything that could possibly suffice. I just want a baby. He fell limp into Taehyung's arms, accepting his defeat. Taehyung did nothing to ease Jungkook's emotions. He lay set in stone like a marble statue, hidden amongst the ruins of their relationship. He stretched out his hunched back, setting down the pen for a break. He gazed out of the glass walls only to see dark instead of the light.